Welcome back to the Hybrid Athlete Dad Podcast. Most people think success comes from big moments of motivation, but the truth is, it's the quiet, ordinary act of showing up every single day that transforms you as both an athlete and a dad. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. Super excited for today's episode, which is the power of showing up daily. Now, before we dive into today's episode, I like to go over anything that's going on in my life that I think you may find interesting, whether it's fitness, nutrition, or just something that I want to get off the chest. And this podcast is a perfect medium for that. I ran 7 miles this morning. That felt phenomenal. Honestly, it was a little bit tricky in the sense that it was running some hills today, but the weather was perfect. It was about, I want to say 63, 64 degrees today, slight little breeze. The sun is it's out, but more cloudy, so it would peek through every now and then. And really enjoyed today's run. Last week was really more or less just getting back into the foundation of running. And what I mean by that is I was coming off some sickness. I had been sick for about a week. It was strange. It was really just my throat that was absolutely killing me. It got to the point where I just heard to drink water, but I know I ended up powering through it. Not it wasn't so much a cold, not sure what it was, other than it was not an enjoyable it wasn't an enjoyable week. So built the stamina back up last week, getting back to it. This week getting up my miles outside. Did 5 yesterday, did 7 today. I'll do another 5 tomorrow, and then figure out the rest of the week. From there, hit my mileage of 30 miles. Looking forward to next week, going on vacation to the Outer Banks, taking my wife, daughter, and our in-laws are coming along as well. So really looking forward to that. Found a gym where we're staying in the Outer Banks. So looking forward to just trying out a new gym for a few days. It's tough, and from me, and I'm assuming all of the listeners out there, that when I go on vacation, I still like to work out in the morning. It's just a habit that I built up, whether that's running, whether that's lifting. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit different. Maybe it's not as long of runs, or maybe it's not the same gym routine that I have, and I'm just getting in and getting out, but I at least got to be doing something while I'm out there. So super looking forward to that. It looks like there's a hurricane as I'm recording this episode that is evacuating part of the part of one of the islands within the Outer Banks, but that doesn't seem to be affecting where we're going to be staying. So hopefully it stays that way and we can enjoy our vacation without any disturbances. So really looking forward to that. But yeah, this week's been great. Just really just getting back into it and getting back into the routine. Because I mean, it really does suck when you're sick and you're not feeling great, and you built up these habits over time of going to the gym and running, and you can't do it. And mentally, I know that when I go back to the gym, when I go back to running, it's just going to be a little bit more difficult, just based on the pure fact that it's like anything. When you take a break from anything and you get back to it, it's going to take a little bit while for you to ease yourself back into it. So with all of that said, I actually ran a race this past weekend. You can probably put some quotation marks around the word race. It was a local race in the hometown that I'm in, and I believe they had different options. It was a 10-mile race, it was a 5K, and it was a 1 mile race. I ended up choosing to do the 10-mile race. I haven't ran 10 miles. It had almost been about 6 weeks since I had done it. I had ran my half marathon at the end of June, and then the weather got unbearably hot. I mean, it was 90s during the days, high humidity, just unseasonably warm, and I didn't want to kill myself to a certain degree. I'd still go out and do 7, 8 miles. So doing 10 miles was fine. So went out, I believe I paced 8:32. So super happy about that. There was 26 people that ran it. So definitely not a super small race at that, but it was put on for a good cause. There was a memorial of this gentleman who had ran the Boston Marathon, I believe it was about 25 times, and he ended up passing away when he was 46 from some type of cancer. And obviously he was a runner from our town, and this race is put on for the last couple of years because of it. Saw them putting it out last year, wanted to do it this year, so it was great. test, and it was nice because I was able to run in my town, but run a little bit different of a course than what I'm used to running, just to be able to see new roads. It was good, except the last mile, pretty much now, it was mile, or once I hit 9.1 miles in, the last point 0.9 was just, it was just brutal. It was just, it was straight uphill, so you go straight downhill, then you have about a half a mile on a straightaway, and then you got to go make almost like a U shape, and yeah, it was brutal, but I knew going into it what the last mile was going to be, so got through it, pushed through it, so very happy with that. Felt overall pretty good. I mean, definitely a little tired, probably a little more tired than I'm used to. Got the stamina, the adrenaline going. The my hip was hurting a little bit, my right hip, just right on the bone on, I'd say Sunday, a little bit on Monday. I'm recording this episode on a Tuesday in no real pain, so glad that went away. Just think just from going that distance, I hadn't done that in a little while, but definitely want to start incorporating that back into my routine of going the 10 miles or not every single week, but at least once or twice a month, just to continue to build on that in case I want to sign up for another half marathon. But with that said, I'll probably put the future races on hold just for the time being. And the reason I say that is signed up for an EMT course, runs every Saturday, starting in the middle of September to the middle of December, every Saturday from 9 to 5. And also meets on Wednesdays at night, but that's just virtually. But on Saturdays during the day. So looking forward to get that EMT certification. Really enjoying being a volunteer with our ambulance service right now. I'm just an attendant. So my role is that when we stop, wherever that may be, whether someone fell, whether someone's sick, whether it's a traffic accident, and I'm going there and I'm taking notes. So I'll take notes of when we left the state, or when the call came in, when we left the station, when we arrived, when we leave the scene of the accident, which hospital we're going to. I'll get the patient's name, date of birth, information, social security number, sometimes just their last four if they don't feel comfortable with it. I'll mark down what their blood pressure is, what their oxygen level is, and their heart rate. I'll mark down if they take any medications. I'll write down what is going on. I'll mark down what they're describing, any of their, if they're sick, what's going on, how they're feeling. If there's an instance where, let's say there's a call I went to about 2 weeks ago where the woman said she was fine, but she was very agitated. So, we would mark down that patient says she's fine, but she's agitated, just in case it comes up for future reference. So really enjoying it. For me, it's really nice in the sense that it's totally different, totally outside my comfort zone. Granted, it's only one night a week, but I mean, it's exciting. I mean, when I show up for my 9 to 5 and I sit down and I work and then that's it, it's great. But I mean, last Thursday I had a traffic accident on the highway and everything, everyone presumably, I believe, was going to be fine and everything, but call came in at 1:15 in the morning. And I mean, when that call, I have a pager and it beeps 4 times, it goes off on my nightstand. Then I get a notification on an app and tells me that I'm responding to a traffic accident. And then I gotta quickly get my clothes on. From the time to my house to the time that we have to be leaving the station is about 9 minutes, and I live about 6 minutes away from the station, so you can imagine I have to get dressed rather quickly. But I have everything laid out, ready to go, even like the belt ready to go in the loops of the pants, the car keys, wallet, everything all ready to go, boots by the door. So I am ready to go. But I mean, you get your adrenaline pumping, and yeah, it's definitely difficult to come back on Friday. So I was out 1:15 a.m. The call came in, got back about 2:45 because our patient had refused to go to the hospital. Probably should have gone, but can't force someone to go to the hospital at the end of the day, so came back a little bit earlier. But then even then, it probably took me to about 4 a.m. to fall back asleep. And now I'm readjusting my Friday schedule a little bit, where now I get up at 6 a.m. instead of 4:50, depending on what goes on. So in this instance, where I got called out, I'm gonna sleep until 6 a.m. just to get a little bit more sleep. And if I don't get called out, I'll just get up at 4:50 because I am on call till 6 a.m. I will just go to my office and start working for the day. Then once it hits 6 a.m., I'll just change up my routine a little bit. Where I will run instead of lifting. And then after I drop my daughter off, I will go to the gym and lift, where typically that's when I would be running. So just switching up the routine a little bit keeps me up on my feet, really enjoying it, and just want to get the certification, just give myself an option for a different career path. And I know this is a Hybrid Athlete Dad podcast, and I don't want to get too far off on it, but I would just say if you're thinking about doing something, whether it's volunteer, firefighter, or if you do have a volunteer ambulance service and you're on the fence about it, like, yeah, I was like super uncomfortable. I didn't know what to expect on the first call, and but yeah, it's been good so far. I've been out on in the past month, been out on 5 calls, and that's been, yeah. I mean, some of them are BS calls, in a sense, where you go and someone might need help getting from the chair to their bed, and it's like, why are you calling us? You're diverting our resources, and then you get actual calls where someone actually needs medical assistance and medical help. So right now it's probably 2 out of the 5 have probably been actual someone like really needs help. I been called out on a few others where they come in as a mental health call, but nothing going on with those, where we're more or less on standby. And the way that works is if someone has hurt themselves, or they're drunk, or they're using some type of drug, then we're going to transport to the hospital with the police if they haven't hurt themselves. If they aren't drunk, or if they aren't high, or whatnot, then they'll typically ride in the police car and we'll get sent back to the station. So that's but so I've had 2 of those where I've gone to the station and nothing's come out of it, which is obviously a good thing. I would prefer not to see someone hurting themselves if I could help it, but obviously that may be part of a job. But again, would prefer not to see it. And the last bit of exciting news to share with you, been about 6 weeks, but got a job offer this past week. Accepted it starting after Labor Day. So it's nice. I have about a week off now, and then I have about a week off, or we got 2 weeks off with going on vacation next week. And then this week I can just work a little bit on my business, button everything down, doing a little bit more yard work this week, and just really enjoying having the time off. So if you are someone that was laid off, you're looking for a job, I can empathize with you. It's it's not an easy job market right now to get a job. I felt with my experience, I had a ton of experience, and even then I applied to about 200 jobs, probably had about 20 interviews over the 6 weeks, and yeah, it's brutal, honestly. So I'm thankful I was able to get an offer. I know I put in the work, and I want to take some time just to celebrate on my end. But I feel for you if that's something that you're going through. But with all that said, and I know I have said that multiple times today, I really got to work on the next transition and what I'm saying. But let's dive into today's episode, which is the power of showing up daily. Now, what is the power of showing up daily? That's just, for lack of a better word, that's just being consistent. It's being consistent in your eating, in your nutrition, in your sleep schedule. Because at the end of the day, it's discipline is going to allow you to grow as a person rather than motivation. Because motivation fades, but your discipline is what lasts. And I've talked about it before, but I could go on. I could listen to 30 minutes of David Goggins speaking. He's going to fire me up, and maybe I go out and I do something big for a week or two. But eventually that's going to fade. So it's the discipline that I have in my routine of getting up, putting on my shoes, going out for a run, getting up, going to the gym. It's making sure that I'm eating, for the most part, healthy. I do like a nice pizza every now and then, not going to lie. But I'm not eating a pizza every single night. I'm just making sure that I'm making solid choices with the food that I put in my body and the way that I treat my body with running and lifting, because really the compounding effect that you get of daily consistency is what allows you to grow as a person. Where if you're overweight, if you haven't been to the gym, if you haven't gone for a run, first time I went for a run, I did like a mile and a half and was absolutely dying. First time I went to the gym, I was so sore the next day. First time I worked with a nutritionist, which wasn't really that long ago, about a year and a half ago, and started to change my diets, it's uncomfortable, but it's continually showing up day after day. Next thing I know, I'm going for a 2 mile run. And the following week, I'm going for a 3 mile run, and then a 4 mile run. Same thing with the gym. Same thing with my eating habits, where all of a sudden I'm building up this discipline where now, if I don't go for a run today, it's going to feel off because I've been doing it pretty much for the last probably about 15, 16 months or so, about 5 to 6 days a week. Especially if you're training as a hybrid athlete where your small daily efforts are going to improve you more than your occasional big efforts. And what I mean by that is getting up and going to the gym, and instead of just going one day a week, you're going, say, 3 days a week. Similar with running. Instead of you going out and doing one run a week and going 10 miles, you do 5 miles a day at 5 days per week at 5 miles, and then maybe throw in a 10 mile run there as well. So I find that just these small daily efforts are going to provide more value to me than the occasional big efforts that I might be putting out there. Now, as a father, showing up daily builds trust with your kids. My daughter knows what to expect, that I'm home at the same time. For the most part, might be a little bit different. Last night was Monday night, and we meet once a night at the volunteer ambulance service, so I might be gone for a little bit. Thursdays, and I felt terrible about it, where a call came in 7:55 and we put her down at 8, and she was crying because I was leaving. That's not easy, but I know that I'm showing up for her every single day. I'm being present for her every single day, and she can know what to expect out of me, and we have that level of comfort. She knows that she's loved. She knows that she'll have what she wants. When I mean food, drink, she doesn't lack for anything. She doesn't lack for clothes, and that's something that we provide to her, and that's something that I'm always going to be providing to her. There's so many parallels between training and parenting consistency. It's just showing up every single day. Some days I don't feel like going to the gym, going for a run. Some days it's tough being a parent. If you're a parent, you can relate. If you're not, it might be a little bit hard to see. And obviously I love my daughter and she's my whole world, but some days it can be tough depending on the type of mood she is in, especially now that she's in the toddler phase and she's very defiant to a certain degree. And just making sure that I'm disciplined in my workouts, disciplined in my parenting, because I know I've touched on this in previous episodes, but I don't want to yell at her. Like, no parent wants to yell at their child. So it's like, if she's not doing something that she should be doing, how can I get it across in a way that she listens to me without me having to raise my voice? Because I never want to have to raise my voice at her. And on the few times I have, it makes me feel absolutely terrible. So how can I be disciplined in my demeanor, even when my buttons are being quite pushed at times? There becomes a mindset shift, which is progress is built in micro wins, not massive leaps. And this really goes back to what I was talking about before, of the small daily efforts are going to provide more impact for you than your occasional big efforts. So a micro win could be going 5 runs this week and 3 strength training sessions. A massive leap could be going 3 strength training sessions and 5 runs from not working out at all. And you're going to get burned out. And that's not what I want you to encounter. I want you to take risks. I want you to push yourself to be uncomfortable. But I don't want you to take such big leap that you burn yourself out or you can't stick with it. That's like folks that go on a diet and they cut out absolutely everything that they enjoy. Next thing you know, they're on a nice diet for a month and then they revert back to the old habits just because they don't know any better. Or not so much that they don't know any better. They change too quickly, and it needs to be built up over time. Another mindset shift I had was embracing imperfect action versus waiting for perfect conditions. And I can't think of this any better than running in the winter. It's cold. I don't enjoy running in 10-degree weather. I don't think anyone enjoys running when it's that cold. But I go out there, and even if I run a little bit slower, I'm still taking action instead of me waiting for the perfect conditions. And I can tell you, from running in the winter, I don't see as many people. I see people running right now in the summertime, in the spring, and the fall, and when winter rolls around, when the conditions aren't perfect, just not as many people are running. And this isn't an indictment on them. It's like I'm gonna run all year round. I'm gonna run all 4 seasons. So right now I can really enjoy the summertime and the fall coming up. But it's just me taking imperfect action each and every day, showing up to the gym. Not every workout is going to be my best workout. Not every run is going to be my best run, but I'm continuing to take action each and every single day. The habits that you build today are the results that you're going to see tomorrow. If you're running today, you're going to get faster tomorrow. Now, this isn't to say you're going to go from, say, 10-minute mile to 7-minute mile. That can be built up over years, but over time, the habits that you have today are what allows you to see your results of tomorrow. When I'm training for my marathon, I didn't go out and run a marathon with no running experience or anything like that. It's not like I went out and ran 26.2 miles and wanted to call it a day. No, I started off, I ran, and at this point in the summer, I built up to a half marathon. And then I went out and ran 14 miles. Then I ran out and ran 16 miles, and this was a week after week. Then I ran 18 miles. Then I ran 20 miles. And by doing that, by running these 20 miles, I was able to feel confident about running my marathon. But it was the habit I built up of running consistently that eventually led me to doing my first 5K, that eventually led me to doing my first half marathon, and then getting the idea to go out there and run my first marathon. And it's the same thing when I was running my triathlon, where I know how to bike, I know how to swim. I had no problems running at that point. But to bike fast and to swim fast and to the hardest part I found with swimming was the sighting. And what I mean by that is when you're going out there, you're swimming typically around buoys. And if the buoy was straight in front of me, I would be veering off to the right or I'd be veering off to the left. So sighting is I want to make sure I'm following through and I'm seeing right where I need to go. Well, I built up that habit over time of sighting by going to a triathlon club that was near me about once a week and swimming in the water and just working on that and building up the habits. That way I wasn't veering too far right, I wasn't veering too far left, especially veering too far right because then I have to swim back to the left to just get back to where I need to go. Now, stacking your habits into your routine, it just makes showing up so much easier. For me, I know exactly what I'm going to be running or lifting and then running, what I'm going to be eating, and I just built up these habits. I know about what time I'm going to be going to bed. I know my bedtime routine to make myself advantageous. Even when I'm working, I have all planned what I'm going to be doing later on in the week, making sure that I get done what needs to get done. So I find that just stacking my habits into my routine just makes showing up so much easier. Now, what I want you to take away from today's episode is that success in training and fatherhood is not about intensity, but about consistency and showing up daily. Now, I hope you enjoyed today's episode on the Hybrid Athlete Dad podcast, and I hope you tune into next week's episode where I discuss how I prioritize my health without neglecting my family.